Today, we're diving into one of the most difficult, most personal conversations in mental health care. Deciding to start a family when you're living with bipolar disorder. It's a journey that's just packed with hope, but also so much fear and some really, really tough choices. Okay, let's get into it.
Everything we're going to talk about today really comes down to this one single question. It comes from a 33-year-old woman named Eva, and it just perfectly frames the huge dilemma that so many people face. It's a question about more than just having a baby. It's about your identity, about motherhood, and what your future can even look like.
So let's properly meet Eva Hardy. She is a hairdresser, she's just gotten married, and, this is the big thing, after years and years of struggling with bipolar I disorder, she's finally stable, she's in a good place. And now she's looking ahead, and she's starting to ask that really profound question.
To really get why she's so afraid, you have to understand what she's been through. I mean, look at this timeline. Her late 20s were just a storm. We're talking severe episodes, multiple hospitalizations, a really tough search for the right treatment. She tried risperidone, olanzapine, lithium, before finally landing on a combination that actually worked. And for the last 3 years, that combination has given her something absolutely priceless: stability. And right here, this is the heart of the conflict. The very medication that brought her out of that storm, valproate, is also known to be really dangerous during pregnancy. The thing that literally gave her her life back is now the biggest obstacle to the new life she's dreaming of creating. It's an impossible situation. So a conversation like this has to start with the risks. And the first risk we need to talk about isn't just to the baby. It's actually to Eva herself. See, pregnancy and childbirth are massive events for anyone, physically and emotionally. But they can be uniquely destabilizing for someone with bipolar I. Let's just pause and think about this for a second. When is a new mother with bipolar I at her most vulnerable? The answer to this really shines a light on just how intense the postpartum period can be. The number is 50%, a 1 in 2 chance. That is the estimated risk of a severe relapse right after giving birth. That's not a small number, right? It's basically a coin toss at what is already one of the most vulnerable times in a person's life. And what's really frightening is that this 50% risk often shows up as a very specific condition called puerperal psychosis. This isn't just feeling down, this is a severe, rapid onset illness that can hit within hours or days of delivery. And it is a true medical emergency. It needs immediate intervention. But, and this is so important, it's not all doom and gloom. Eva has some really powerful things working in her favor. Having 3 solid years of stability and being sober, those are huge protective factors. They genuinely improve her odds and are real strengths she's bringing to the table. Okay, so now we have to turn the coin over and look at the other side of this dilemma. We've just talked about the risk to Eva's health, but what about the risk her medication, that crucial valproate, poses to a developing baby? Let's put some hard numbers on this. For any pregnancy in the general population, there's about a 3% chance of a major birth defect. But for a baby that's exposed to valproate, well, that risk jumps all the way up to about 13%. And when you see it visually like this, the difference is just, whoa. It's stark. We're not talking about a small, little increase here. This is more than a 4-fold jump in the risk. That is a massive leap. And the risks themselves are really serious. You've got physical things, like a higher chance of heart defects or spina bifida. But beyond that, there's this huge 20 to 60% chance of long-term neurodevelopmental issues. Things like learning disabilities, autism, ADHD. Now, that's a wide range, I know. But even at the low end, it's a substantial, potentially life-altering risk. So you might be wondering, what about the other medication she's on? She's also taking sertraline, which is an antidepressant. Does that carry the same kind of scary risk profile? And here, finally, is some good news. While, no medication is ever going to be called 100% risk-free, sertraline is actually the go-to recommended antidepressant to use during pregnancy and breastfeeding. The evidence we have shows it has a much, much lower risk profile. It's a totally different story from valproate.
So this leaves Eva in an unbelievable bind. Without her medication, there's a high risk to her own health. With her medication, there's a high risk to her baby's health. So what on earth are the alternatives? Where do you go from here?
I mean, this is the definition of being stuck between a rock and a hard place. If she stays on valproate, she protects herself, but she puts her future child at risk. If she switches to something like olanzapine, which is considered safer for pregnancy, she knows from past experience that she could face really difficult side effects like major weight gain. There's just no simple, perfect answer.
And that's why the whole point of preconception counseling isn't for a doctor to just hand you an answer. It's about helping you find your own answer. It's a whole process, you know? It means having these really deep discussions, weighing pros and cons that are intensely personal, and building a rock-solid support plan. Because in the end, the choice has to be hers, and it has to be an empowered one. Ultimately, this whole journey is about finding a way to move beyond the scary statistics and the fear, to carve out a path forward that feels both safe and possible. And to do that, you have to look some of the deepest fears right in the eye.
And this might be the biggest, most terrifying fear of them all. For so many people with a history of severe mental illness, the worry goes beyond just getting sick. It's this deep-seated fear that the system, that society, will see you as an unfit parent and take your child away.
But the actual guidance here is really clear, and it's meant to be reassuring. If a mother does become unwell, the job of social services is supposed to be supportive, not punitive. The goal is to help the family, to keep everyone safe together. Taking a child away is an absolute last resort, and it is really, really uncommon. And that really is the bottom line. A diagnosis is not a destiny. The entire point of the healthcare system in a situation like this is to support people like Eva, to help them stay well, have healthy pregnancies, and become the amazing parents that they want to be. So Eva's story is incredibly personal, but it opens up a much bigger question for every single one of us. This isn't just about medicine or psychiatry. It's about us, as a society. How do we build a world with the right resources, the right understanding, and the right compassion to make sure that everyone has the chance to build a family safely and with dignity? That's something to think about.